Hello friends, my name is McKenna and welcome to Knit Between the Lines, a knitting podcast. This is a podcast where I talk about what I'm spinning, what I'm knitting on, and my love for fiber arts. So grab whatever project you're working on and let's get into it. Okay, so for WIPS, we still have the same couple projects as the last couple episodes. My big one being the Pressed Flowers cardigan by Amy Christoffers, or Savory Knitting. And I have gotten so much progress since the last time I talked with you guys about 2 weeks ago. And this has been the project that I've been putting most of my focus on the last couple weeks. So I don't have much progress on my other WIPs, but I do have so much to show you on this one. So the last time I talked to you guys, I was here where this little gummy bear stitch marker was, which was the beginning of the decreases on the front right of the cardigan. Since then, I have done the entire front right. I have done the entire back, as well as the entire front left. So as you can see, a lot of progress. I haven't gotten to the actual seaming of the shoulders yet, which is the next part in the pattern. And after that, I believe it is just sleeves and the button band. So I've never knit a button band before, which I think will be super interesting. I know it tends to be people's least favorite part of knitting a cardigan, besides all the purling that typically happens when knitting a cardigan. So I'm really interested to see and learn that new technique for knitting. This is my first cardigan I've ever knit before, so it will be really interesting to kind of learn that side of the construction. This is a very interesting situation with the cardigan right now. It's a little awkward because I have like this huge piece of long fabric, but I think once I seam it together and I actually have shoulders, it'll be a little easier to handle when knitting, and it'll actually like look like a cardigan. Like right now it doesn't really look like a cardigan, which has kind of been my struggle with this project, because I kind of hit a wall a little bit where like I'm hitting that point where I just want this project to be done. Mostly because I want to wear it. I'm really excited to wear this, especially now that we're into the middle to end of September and fall is either here or quickly approaching. The temperatures are dropping outside, it's getting nice and breezy and cold, and I want to start wearing my knits, so I'm really excited to get this done because I really want to wear it. When it comes to the spin cycle colors in my cardigan, I did have to color manage a little bit. I don't mind if my sleeves don't match very much, like the color gradient wise, like where it starts and where it ends. Since the 3 panels were knit separately, I did kind of want the gradient to be at least somewhat similar to each other, just because it felt like one piece. So I did manage to do that a little bit, like to the point where it looks intentional and it's not too terribly off. Like for example, this is the left front, right? Hold that up. And then this is the right front. So you can see that this side it's a little darker for a little longer. It doesn't really lighten up till about here. But this one, you can see that it starts to lighten up about here, but it's still the same color story and the gradient's still doing the same thing. So I think it looks pretty good. And if you look at these compared to the back panel, it also is doing the same thing. It definitely gets a lot lighter and more orange towards the top faster than the other 2 panels, but in general the gradient story is still the same, which it makes me super happy. And I still have plenty of spin cycle left to do the sleeves. I have what's left of the skeins that I used to color manage the rest of the body, as well as a whole additional skein of spin cycle. So we have plenty of spin cycle to work with, so I'm not super worried about running out of yarn since I color managed. I think it'll be great, especially because the yarn that I have left of the skeins starts at like the yellowy color and is going to go back into like the purples and blues, which is going to work perfect if I'm working from shoulder down, because that's essentially what happens here. It goes from orange to purple to blue, back to orange, yellow, purple, blue. So I think it'll all actually work out pretty well because I essentially am just using the reverse of the skein. So I'm pretty excited actually. I think it's going to work out great. But this is a sport weight cardigan that is taking me 5 ever to knit, and I'm ready to cast on something else. I really want to cast on the roost sweater for my husband because it's going to be a larger size. It is going to take me some time, but I think he's going to really love it, and I really want to get that on the needles for him. And I'm also craving just some straight stockinette. I do love the texture of this cardigan a lot, and it is mostly knitting because it's creating those garter ridges, but I just need some straight stockinette in the round, I think. I think that's just what my soul is craving after a colorwork textured flat project. But I'm still loving it, and I really still am enjoying knitting on it. I'm just hitting a point where I'm ready for it to be done because I want to wear it and I want to cast on something new. Also, the sweater that I'm wearing is my tessellated pullover by Andrea Mowry. I made this for Rhinebeck last year, and I did use the suggested yarn. For my main color, I used Bison Princess and Spinster's Daughter. For my spin cycle, it was Bruised Ego and Dyed in the Wool. And my fluffy yarn, I believe, was Grey Wolf or Winter Wolf in Farmer Center Fibers Oh Dang. Something similar to that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but this is probably my most worn sweater. I love it so much. I love the kind of sweatshirt fit to it, and because it's sport weight, it is very lightweight, and it's warm because of the alpaca, so I love it very much. And I'm also thinking of making another one. All right, so the next WIP that I have progress on is the Sideline Wrap by Brienne Moody. And look how exciting. She's doing a little warpy thing right now because I need to block, obviously it needs to get blocked, but look at the color gradient. Cover my face, there we go. It is looking so good. I did get a little sad because there was a tie-off in my, well, not a tie-off, but like a splicing in the middle of my spin cycle yarn. So that's why it abruptly goes from this really pretty light purple right back into the pink, the hot pink. There isn't much of a gradient between those two colors like there normally is in spin cycle. I really thought about color managing. I did, and I just kind of was like, you know what? It's fine. Like, it's a head wrap. It'll get back to it eventually. And we're in this like really pretty lighter pink right now, and it's gonna eventually fade back into that really pretty like lilac-y purple. So we'll get back there. It's fine. And I have like, in total, you have to knit like 42 inches for this before you'd start doing the decreases again for the other end. So I have plenty of spin cycle to get through, so I think it'll be fine. It just kind of bugged me a little bit, but what can you do? This has very much been my like, I don't super have to pay attention knitting, especially because you're past the decreases now and the pattern kind of makes sense visually while you're doing it. It's very intuitive. So this is what I've been taking to knit nights with me on Wednesdays at Starlight Knitting Society. I was taking my Pressed Flowers cardigan, but again, it got to a point where it was like super complicated and I had to like actually focus on what I was doing. I couldn't really participate in conversation at knit night, and it got just so awkward to move around, especially when I'm just like sitting in a chair at knit night rather than kind of like sprawling out on my couch and having a whole bunch of surface area to spread it around. So I haven't been working on it at knit nights. This has been my new knit night project, and I really, really like it. I'm actually like obsessed with the colors. As I mentioned when I casted on this project, these are colors that are kind of out of my comfort zone, but as I've been working on this, I've just been falling in love with it. And I think this is an accessory that I will wear all of the time. So, and it's really, really fun to knit. And I can't wait to make another one that's more of a like neutral-ish vibe, potentially. This is a great stash buster because it's essentially one skein of fingering weight yarn and one skein of color changing yarn, or really any yarn. In this case, it's spin cycle, but you could probably use just another skein of fingering weight or another skein of sport weight and be just fine. So yeah, highly recommend. I do want to make another one very badly because this is so much fun. But yeah, she looks great. It's gonna look so good on my little head. But yeah, I don't have much to talk about on this one because it's such a simple knit, so, but just chugging along on it. My other two projects I have going are still my Cozy Comfort Throw from a Homespun house and the Yarn Cozy Lights. Just haven't really touched them. Really I've been focusing in on my Pressed Flowers cardigan because I'm trying to get her done, and my Sideline Wrap has pretty much been like my knitting for any other instance, whether it's like car knitting, when my husband is driving, or going to knit nights, or going out to get drinks with friends. That's been the knitting for that. So I just haven't really been putting a lot of love and attention into my Cozy Comfort Throw or my Yarn Cozy Lights. But I'm sure once the Sideline Wrap gets finished, or I just need something else to work on because I'm like getting a little tired of those projects, I'll have those to kind of pick up too. So yeah, I'm not gonna show those to you guys today since there's no progress on them. Maybe we'll have progress on them next podcast. Okay, so for spinning, I also don't have much to show you guys, again, because my sole focus has been the Pressed Flowers cardigan. But I have finished spinning up the Kent Romney that I got from Northwest Yarns, and here it is. Here are my two bobbins of singles. Ooh, focus, there we go. And I think it looks so good. I can definitely tell this is getting more consistent. I do think it's gonna end up plying between a sport weight to a DK, just like the Rambouillet did, but we'll see. I do just need to ply it up and then wash and thwack it a little bit. And then once that's done, I can start knitting a project with my hand spun, which I'm super excited about. I still think I'm leaning towards the Traveler's Cowl because I think the garter ridges will hide some texture issues, but I think it'll be really, really fun. And I think it'll be so nice to have a project with the first hand spun I've ever made. That's not obviously the dumpster fire, that was the Gotland. It was really funny though, someone suggested using my first hand spun for like a emotional support chicken because the texture could give it a kind of fun look, as well as someone mentioned that they used their first hand spun to tie as a ribbon on gifts for like Christmases and birthdays for like several years, and I thought that was a super cute touch. So with Christmas coming up, that might be something that I do, which I think will be really, really cute. So we'll see. But super excited to get this spun up, and it's really fun because the Romney is definitely like a middle ground between like the BFL and the Rambouillet. It's definitely not as lofty as the Rambouillet is, but it's still very, very soft, and it's not as like hairy as the BFL. So it's definitely a good middle ground. I do believe Romney is a breed that is often suggested for beginners like Corriedale. So I'm not surprised this was easier to spin up, but I'm super excited to see it plied. Regarding drafting, I did a short forward like all my other ones. Yeah, just did a short forward, super simple. I think after this, I'm going to dip into my hand-dyed fiber that I showed you guys a couple episodes ago because I'm just really, really excited. And like the hand-dyed fiber that I see everyone spinning up just makes me so happy, and I can't wait to do it myself, so. All right, so that's all I have for WIPs. I don't have any finished objects to show you guys this week just because I haven't plied up and washed the Romney yet. And again, the Pressed Flowers cardigan has been occupying all of my knitting time because I want her done so I can wear it immediately. So no finished objects, but I do have a really, really fun acquisition to show you guys. I got a sewing machine. I'm so excited. I've been wanting to learn how to sew for a very long time now, but sewing is a hobby that is kind of hard to get into because, well, you need a sewing machine, and sewing machines aren't cheap in the slightest. So a lot of people recommended looking at one secondhand. My mom actually had a sewing machine when I was growing up that she used to make my dance costumes when I was a kid, as well as mend some clothes if needed. I had called her up, I think last year, and I was like, hey, do you still have that sewing machine? And she chuckled because she had literally just donated it to Goodwill like a week ago, which was super unfortunate. But I am a part of a Discord group that is full of Portland crafters and makers, and someone posted in the community swap channel and said, hey, I am looking to rehome my beginner sewing machine to anybody that is interested, and it's free to a good home. And I was like, me, I want it. Yes, please give it to me. Especially because she was willing to part with it for free, and it was in really great condition. It had all of the accessories, and she said it was a great machine. The only reason why she was getting rid of it is because she had upgraded to a new, more advanced sewing machine. So I was super excited that I was able to snag this and not break the bank to do so. Of course, that also meant I had to go to Joann's and fabric stores to buy all of the things you could ever need to sew, which is quite a bit actually. But Joann's was having a massive 40% off sale on their sewing and quilting tools and fabric, as well as a buy 3 get 2 free on their sewing notions. So I was able to get pretty much everything I needed to get started for like almost half the price, which was super great. It wasn't as much of a financial commitment, which was super exciting. But yeah, I'm super excited to learn how to sew. I've been wanting to learn for a really long time, and now that I have a machine, we are just going to try our best. I immediately go onto YouTube and search learn how to sew beginners sewing 101, and I found a video series by Syd Graham, who has a couple sewing patterns released, where it's a 5-part video of how she goes through like the basic and most important information about sewing that you need to know before you start sewing, right? The first video was tools that you need, which obviously I used to buy everything that I needed. Video 2 was all about your sewing machine. So how to thread your sewing machine, what the different stitches are, how to use the presser foot, like all the kind of nitty-gritty details that are most common between sewing machines. Her sewing machine was obviously different than mine, but a lot of the main things were the same. So it was nice to have someone walk you through that. And the third video was all about fabric. So what kind of fabrics there are, how to choose fabric for certain projects, how the bolt width matters when it comes to fabric choice for different patterns, what fabrics to kind of stay away from as beginners, etc., etc. And then the fourth episode was all about sewing patterns. So essentially like looking at a sewing pattern and like, what does this mean? How do I use it? And she kind of gave you a layout of like grain lines and the notches and how to lay out like your pattern pieces on your fabric and how to make notes and changes and things like that. And then the fifth video was actually a beginner sewing project, which was a super cute tote bag. While I was out buying all my tools, of course I bought fabric to sew a tote bag because I want to do it now. So I decided for my tote bag to do kind of a like outdoorsy theme, which was super fun. I didn't really have any ideas on what I wanted to do off the top of my head. I just kind of went into one of my local fabric stores and just picked out fabric that I liked. So I went to Bolt Fabric in Portland, and they were all super great. They answered like all of my questions and were super, super helpful in like learning where everything was in the store and what kind of fabrics to choose. So let me show you what I chose. So for my outer shell of my bag, it's just this really simple canvas. Just your basic like white canvas that you would see on most tote bags, especially like a Trader Joe's tote bag. For my lining, I chose this really fun like camping fabric. It has a bunch of like tents and a canoe, binoculars, like a bullseye, a backpack, hiking boots, bags, like a rowers, paddles, LOL, rain boots, and a whole bunch of cute stuff. And I just really liked the green background a lot, as well as the orange accents. So I think this is gonna look super, super cute. For my straps, I chose this orange canvas. because I think it goes really well with the orange accents in the lining fabric, so I think it'll look really, really nice together. And she does show you how to make optional patches for the front pocket of the tote bag using just regular fabric. I decided that was gonna be a little too complicated for me as a beginner, especially with the theme of the bag that I chose. So I just purchased a iron-on patch from Amazon. It is just this iron-on patch that has mountains, a sunset in the background, trees, and water. It definitely is a little bit more vibrant than I was anticipating, but I still think it'll look really cute on the pocket of my bag. In the video where Sydney talks about this project, she walks you through every single step, and she tells you exactly how much fabric you need, the dimensions of each piece that you need to cut, and tips and tricks and everything, but she literally walks you through every step of the whole project, which is super helpful for beginners like me. And I decided to buy fabric for a second tote bag because I was at Joann's to get all the other tools that I needed that weren't at my local fabric store, and I saw this fabric. I just thought this was the cutest fabric ever. In the video that Sydney makes, her theme of her bag is actually strawberries. Her fabric is a little different than mine because she got it from Blackbird, I believe. And I saw this and I just thought it was so stinking cute. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Why don't we just copy Sydney? Because that is like the cutest idea ever. So I'm gonna use the same white canvas as the outer shell, the strawberries as my lining fabric. And then for my straps, I got some denim that I think will look super cute. It is a thicker denim. Obviously I haven't ironed this since I washed it, but I think it'll be super fun. And then for the pocket, I got these cute little strawberry patches. Let me go grab those. Here they are. Aren't these so cute? I do plan to make this bag like a smaller dimension because I want it to be essentially like a sock project size project bag. And I think these are gonna be like the perfect size to go in the little pocket. I think that's gonna be so cute. There are 1, 2, 3, 6 of these. I did get 2 packages just because I wasn't sure how many I would need. I'm thinking 9 is gonna be a really nice number, so it's like 3 rows of 3 on the pocket. I might like make them a little crooked and cute, so super excited about that. This has been occupying my every waking thought since I got the sewing machine because I really want to learn how to sew, to the point where I just couldn't wait anymore. So I cut off a chunk of my canvas to practice because I felt like that would be the smart thing to do before I just go right into a project and get totally frustrated and upset with myself because I ruined fabric and it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to because I didn't practice and I wasn't familiar with my machine. So I grabbed a little piece of canvas, cut it out, and threaded my machine and did a little test swatch here. Go see a little bit. It was getting a little blown out, but I did a little test swatch of different stitches. You can definitely tell which one was my first, which was a zigzag stitch. I think this one was my first straight stitch down here, but then I kind of played with some of the different decorative stitches like these right here, which I think looks super, super cool. This is supposed to be a blind hem stitch. That is a option on my machine. It didn't do the blind hem stitch thing because it wasn't a double layered piece of canvas, but I still think it looks really, really cool. And then down here is another decorative stitch. It's a scallop stitch. You can see that I kind of messed with the stitch length a little bit because this is a stitch where you have to have the stitch length a little closer because it's essentially just a bunch of small zigzag stitches, but they kind of go up and then back down to form the scallops. So you need them to be a little bit shorter so it kind of makes the shape that you want. You can see that I started super, super far away and then got super, super small and then kind of found the sweet spot here. My machine also does have overlock stitches for finishing your edges, which is super cool. So you can see that it kind of goes over the edge and then onto the back. And there's another one here. Obviously, I did not do that straight, but you know, we're learning. Here's another option. that kind of goes over the edge and then onto the back to kind of help finish off those stitches. So I definitely started to get the hang of it after practicing a little bit. It is really nice because my machine, the pedal, is pressure sensitive. So depending on how much pressure you're putting on the pedal, it does increase or decrease the speed of the sewing machine, which like super great because I can make it go slow as a beginner, but also bad because I'm gonna get so focused on what I'm doing that my foot's gonna slowly press down and probably go super, super fast. But I don't know, I think this was a really good idea. I definitely feel a lot more confident. I feel like I have a good feel for my machine now. And most of the stitches I will be using for this project is going to be the straight stitch and probably the overlocking stitch to finish my seams. Even then, I don't even know if I'll need to finish the seams because they're all gonna be on the inside between the lining and the shell of the bag, so you're not even gonna see it anyway. But maybe I will overlock them just for practice. We'll see. But I'm super excited. This is probably gonna be what I do this coming weekend. This coming weekend is actually my birthday. My birthday is on Saturday, which is usually when this video will be posted. And I might just spend my birthday sewing and enjoying a new hobby. Of course, when a new hobby gets introduced into your life, you have to project plan. So I do have a couple sewing patterns picked out after the tote bags to sew. And because the first person I got introduced to on YouTube was Syd Graham, who's super sweet on her videos and is actually in Eugene, Oregon. So love supporting a somewhat local artist. She has a couple different patterns that she has published that are definitely very beginner friendly. So I purchased 3 of them. So the first sewing pattern that I really want to sew is the Skyline dress by Syd Graham. And I am looking at fabric on Blackbird Fabrics, which is a online store based in Canada. A lot of people buy from Blackbird. It's affordable to a degree, but they have a great selection of fabric. And the fabric that I have in my cart at the moment is the Go-To Linen Blend fabric in the color Basil. I literally love this color of green. It's very similar to the green in the camping fabric that I chose for the tote bag, so definitely isn't surprising that I chose it. I love the color green. This is not a shade of green that I am typically drawn to. It's more of like a chartreusey green, where it looks like the Daddy State of Mind colorway from Farmers Are Fibers. So I think it's gonna be super, super cute in the Skyline dress. The fabric content is 55% linen, 45% cotton, and it weighs about 5.1 ounces per yard, I believe. The drape is described as crisp, but there is actually a video on Blackbird Fabric that kind of shows you the drape of the fabric. The drape, I think, looks beautiful. I think it'll be a great first fabric to use for my first project, and the Skyline dress is very simple. It is described as a very beginner-friendly pattern, and I want to sew my own clothes. So after these tote bags and I get a feel for sewing, like, I want to sew clothes. And that is definitely the theme for the rest of the sewing patterns that I have planned as well. The second sewing pattern that I have planned is the Lane Pants, also by Syd Graham Patterns. And for this pattern, the fabric that I chose is the Mini Gingham Rustic Cotton, also from Blackbird Fabric in their blush colorway. The drape on this is crisp, but I will pop up the video here so you can see the drape. And it is about 6.3 ounces for weight per yard, and the opacity is opaque, right? So it'll be great for pants. I think this is gonna look so cute in pants, especially because the Lane Pants have a couple different options of just elastic waistband or a drawstring. There's an option for cargo pockets on the side, and you can always play with the length as well. And I love this color, especially since we're going into fall. Like, I can just picture myself wearing these pants in like a neutral shirt or one of my sweaters and going to like an apple orchard or a pumpkin patch and just living my fall dreams. So super excited. Sydney even said that her first sewing project was a pair of pants, which she did admit was probably not the best choice for her first project, but she said they were just a basic elastic pair of pants and she thought it was fine, and she definitely recommended her lane pants as a first beginner project. So I think it'll be fine. It's a super simple project and I think I'll wear the heck out of it, especially in this fabric. And I think it'll be a pattern that I will go back to time and time again with different kinds of fabric choices, as well as tweaking the pattern to fit my body and whatever style I'm wanting for that particular pair of pants. So super exciting. And the last and final sewing pattern that I have picked out for the time being is the Syd tie dress, also from Syd Graham. This pattern has so many options. Not only do you have the full length dress with the sleeves, you can do the full length dress sleeveless. You can also make a tie top as well, sleeveless or with sleeves. So you essentially have 4 patterns in one, and you can obviously alter the length of the dress as well to customize it to your style, which I think is so cute. I really love the tie detailing. I think that's so cute, and I love that like you can't see through the ties, but it just looks so cute and lovely, and I'm super excited about it. I love the puff sleeve as well, and I feel like this dress in a super like drapey fabric will be so cute and lovely to wear. And the fabric that I chose is also from Blackbird Fabrics. I'm hoping to get all of my fabric from the same place, especially because Blackbird does offer a service of printing your pattern pieces for you if you upload the A0 file for like $6 per page. So I'm like one-stop shop, you know? So the fabric that I chose for the Syd tie top is the Viscose Linen Noel in Wisteria. I love this fabric and I love the color. As you can tell by my sweater, I do love a good muted purple color. The content of this sweater is 75% viscose and 25% linen. The weight, I think they have as 230 grams per meter. I don't know where that lies for ounces, but it is labeled as a medium weight, and the drape is moderate. I will pop up a video here so you can kind of see what that looks like. And I think this is gonna look so freaking cute in the Syd tie top. There's also a color called Cornflower that was like super close second, and I might buy it later down the road to make another Syd tie top, or maybe like a shirt in that, because I think I love the color so much. And I have a theory that I'm a soft summer when it comes to season color analysis, so I think that'll look really nice with my skin tone. So super excited to start sewing. Definitely having a lot of restraint right now in buying the fabric. I'm gonna wait to buy the fabric until I sew these totes, because I don't want to buy a bunch of fabric and then plot twist, sewing isn't for me. I don't think that's gonna happen. I have a very similar feeling about sewing that I had about spinning, where I'm like 97% sure that I'm gonna love it, and I just need to like practice and do it and get all like the bumps and bruises out of the way of being a beginner. And the only way you can do that is by doing it. So super excited to sew these tote bags, buy the fabric to make those 3 patterns, and then branch out from there. So I also think these are patterns that I'll come back to and make several of. So I definitely think it'll be a good staple in my wardrobe. Ooh, she's getting a little sour. The apple's getting a little sour. I do leave my tea bags in, mostly because I'm lazy, but also I do like stronger tea, so. Okay, so that's all I have when it comes to crafty stuff. So let's talk about some things going on in my life right now. When it comes to reading, I am still reading Caraval by Stephanie Garber, and I'm not gonna lie, y'all, it's a little hard for me to get through. I am just at the part where Donatella goes to Caraval and she finds out what the game is, essentially, which I'm assuming this is the part in the book where it starts to kind of kick up a little bit, but it is kind of hard for me to get through right now, which is super kind of disappointing and sad. But I'm going to give it a chance because I've heard it's really good and the people who love the series love the series. So I'm gonna give her a chance. I'm gonna still try to keep reading. I don't want to DNF it, but if I just like can't get into it over the next like week or two, it's probably gonna just get cut, you know? Especially because my hold for the first book in the Witcher series came through from my local library, and I loved the TV series very much, and I've heard the books are even better, as they usually are. So I have the first book in the Witcher series on my Kindle, and I'm really excited and anxious to get to it, which is probably another reason why Carball is reading kind of slow for me right now. But, you know, the sooner I read through Carball, the sooner I can get to The Witcher. So that also might be a motivator to get me through Carball. When it comes to shows, my husband and I are still watching Dexter. We haven't been watching it as often because we are still watching Vox Machina on Amazon Prime as well. And that's kind of been what our go-to is. We are super big into playing D&D, even though we're still beginners when it comes to D&D, but we super love Critical Role and all of the people in Critical Role, so it's really fun to watch their campaign animated on Amazon Prime, and it's really good. Like, it's really interesting, and I'm like definitely in it. So we've been watching that a lot, so Dexter's kind of been put on the back burner. I did finish Mindhunter, and my heart is a little broken because you can definitely tell that they canceled the show after they finished season 2 because it stops in the middle of the story. Nothing gets wrapped up at all. And that's it. So it's just super sad. And I knew going in this was gonna happen. I knew going in that it was gonna be a canceled show and that there wasn't gonna be a season 3, but I did. I watched it anyway, of course. I think my hope was that they would wrap it up during season 2, because sometimes when a show gets canceled but they still have the license to finish out the season, they usually try their best to wrap up the storyline. They did not do that, so you can definitely tell that either it got canceled after season 2 aired, or the producers were just kind of like, it's fine, like we already wrote the scripts, everything's already in motion. But still a really good series. I am very sad they're not continuing it because it was getting super interesting. The entire season 2, you were getting these little snippets and clips of a random man, I think in Kansas, and they were obviously setting him up to be a serial killer because the whole show is about like them doing the research to build profiles in a database for profiling serial killers and psychopaths and sociopaths, just like Criminal Minds. And I'm assuming this was leading up to season 3 being like them catching this guy, because the last scene of season 2 is him like being super weird and like psychotic with like his trophies of, I'm assuming, 4 women that he's killed laid out on a bed. So like now we know he is a serial killer, and that's where it ends. That's it. And I was like, we spent a whole season learning and getting all of this information about them learning how to profile people and starting to do the whole like getting invited onto cases to help catch the guy and the whole deal, and like getting introduced to this guy that's going to be a serial killer that obviously we're going to try to like investigate and find, and then it just ends. It just ends. I'm bitter. I'm so bitter. But I knew going in, I should have known better, shouldn't have gotten my hopes up, but I don't regret watching it. I just am really sad that they're not continuing the show. But in light of me finishing Mindhunter and all the fall vibes starting to creep in the Pacific Northwest, I have started to watch the classic Gilmore Girls. Shockingly, I've never watched Gilmore Girls before, and I've heard a lot of people say that's like their favorite show. It's the show they always go back to watch, especially during the fall time. So I'm super excited to be watching it for the first time and experiencing it for the first time. I am only a couple episodes in, and it's super cute. Like, it's definitely very like early 2000s sitcom mom-daughter vibes, and I like it. It's really cute. It's kind of my like, I throw it on and I sit in it and kind of enjoy my evening. So really, really loving that. And the only other thing when it comes to life stuff is the fact that my birthday is this weekend on Saturday. I don't have really any plans. My husband Cameron is working that evening, so we won't be able to go out and celebrate very much. And with us still being new to the Portland area, I'm not super close with many people yet to kind of go out with friends. So I'm gonna kind of just use the day to do stuff for myself and knit, and maybe I'll go get my nails done or just kind of vibe. So gonna be 26, which is super exciting and also a little scary. The older I get and the more adult I become, it's just kind of like, whew, you know? But you know, it's another year around the sun and you gotta be grateful for that. All right, guys, that is all I have for you today when it comes to the podcast. So hopefully the next time we talk, maybe we'll have a finished object. I don't know though, because I always feel like I think sleeves go faster than they do, but maybe they will actually go faster this time. Who knows? But if you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also click that bell icon to get any notifications for when I post videos in the future. Thank you all for stopping at my little crafty corner of YouTube and sharing your time with me today. See you next time. Bye.